Here's the dirty secret about creative work. No matter what you achieve, it'll never be enough. Finish the draft? Not good enough. Publish the book? Still not good enough. Sell 1 million copies? Could have been 2 million. The goalpost always moves. That's why most creatives are perpetually miserable. And it doesn't matter how successful you get. If you want proof, just look at Eiichirō Oda, the creator of One Piece, the most popular manga in the world with hundreds of millions of copies sold. You'd think the guy would be untouchable by now. But even in 2019 and 2020, Oda admitted he still carried a fear of cancellation, like some rookie mangaka waiting to get axed. And when he rests, he gets anxious. He said the voice in his head still whispers, "Maybe you're not good enough." That's the game. You can be the most successful creator alive and still feel like you're one bad week away from being exposed as a fraud. Because the gap isn't about where you are. It's about what you measure yourself against. And when you measure yourself against some imaginary, unreachable ideal, you lose. Every time. The gap is chasing the horizon. You walk towards it, but it never gets closer. You sell a book, then you tell yourself it doesn't count until you sell 10,000. You hit 10,000, then you tell yourself it doesn't matter until it's a bestseller. Bestseller? Not good enough until it's a New York Times bestseller. It never ends because the gap is infinite. That's why Oda can sit at the top of the manga industry and still hear the whisper. Because the gap is a trap that doesn't care about your bank account, your reviews, or how many people worship your work. If you measure against the perfect ideal, you'll always fall short. But there's another way. The gain. Instead of measuring against the horizon, you measure against the ground you've already covered. You don't ask, "Am I there yet?" You ask, "How far have I come?" That's the difference between being tortured by your own success and actually being able to enjoy it. And even Oda, after decades of being chased by the cancellation ghost, finally said it himself when One Piece entered its final arc. "I really just want to have fun and joke around." That's the son of a man crawling out of the gap and into the game, not obsessing over every metric, not measuring himself against some mythical ideal, just remembering why he started drawing in the first place, because it was fun. That's what the gain is. It recognizes that today you wrote a page, when yesterday you didn't. That you draft may be a mess, but at least it exists. And 3 months ago it didn't. It's measuring against your past self, not some imaginary Hemingway, not your Goodreads nemesis, not the bestseller list. Just you. Yesterday, last week, last year. The gap will always whisper, "Not enough." The game reminds you, "Look how far you've already come." One will keep you miserable no matter how high you climb. The other is the only way you get to enjoy the climb at all. So how do you actually live in the game instead of getting eaten alive in the gap? You don't need a 10-step planner or a vision board. You just need a few mental judo moves. Tip 1. Track the wins, even the tiny ones. End of the day, write down 3 wins. Doesn't matter how stupid they sound. I wrote a paragraph without cringing. Win. I didn't Google how old Stephen King was when he wrote Carrie. Win. I stared at the blank page for an hour, but at least I opened the damn document. Still a win. The gap will say it's pathetic. The gain will say it's progress. Guess which one's right? Tip 2. Treat ideals like the sun. Dan Sullivan says ideals are like the sun. They light the way, but you're not supposed to touch them. Yet writers act like they're supposed to eat the sun for breakfast. Spoiler, you'll burn out. Use your ideal, your dream novel, your masterpiece, not as a measuring stick, but as a compass. It tells you where to go, not how much you suck for not being there yet. Tip 3. Flip rejection into data. Rejection isn't proof you're trash. Rejection is proof you're playing the game. Nobody rejects the guy who has never sent in a manuscript. When you're in the gap, a no is a scarlet letter. In the game, a no is just data. Congratulations, you've leveled up from wannabe to in the arena. Tip 4. Make rest legal again. Oda admitted that when he rests, he gets anxious. That's the gap talking. Here's the reframe. Rest is part of the process. Rest means you've done enough today to earn a tomorrow. Rest isn't falling behind. It's how you make sure you're still around to write in 10 years. Also, Goku rests. It's a literal part of the Turtle School training method. Are you stronger than Goku? Of course not. Nobody's stronger than Goku, if YouTube polls are to be believed. Tip 5. Celebrate the ugly draft. The gap will always tell you your draft sucks. And you know what? It probably does. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But so did every first draft in the history of humanity. The gain is realizing your bad draft is still infinitely better than no draft. A bad page can be fixed. A blank page can't. The gap keeps you chained to what you don't have. The gain hands you proof of what you already built. That's the difference between creating from fear and creating from freedom. And trust me, freedom makes better art. For me, the gap didn't show up in chapters or word count. It showed up in reach. I always felt like I lacked a platform. Like, no matter how much I wrote or how good I got, it wasn't enough to actually get my work to people. That's the gap. It convinces you that you're always missing some tool, some audience, some magic key. But when I started living in the game, I realized everything I needed was already in front of me. I didn't need to wait for a publisher or a platform or a green light. I just had to start stacking wins with what I had. That's how broadcast literature was born. A format built from using what's available, experimenting, and making the process itself the platform. If you want to see what it looks like in action, check out the broadcast literature trailer. Or if you want the deeper story of how I got here, watch my video on how Blue Lock saved my sanity. Both links are waiting for you.